And just like that, y'all, I had to say it because this is the season finale, and Lucas always gets to say it. I feel like I did not give it its sultry introduction because Lucas is very sexy, like, and just like that, here we are with another episode of the hit series, now canceled, unfortunately, show, and just like that. Take it away, Lucas.
See, and at first, when I first started doing that and saying and just like that, she couldn't stand it. She's like, wait, no, that will
Nope.
not you will not start this episode off like that. But now you get
Nope.
it. It fits so well. What and the coincidence of the year. I didn't even think that the show. I didn't think of the show's title when I said "and just like that." I was just thinking of a way to bring back the show.
I know you was. I know you
But we
was.
are
Wasn't it?
here for the series finale here, and we've been honest for the 3 seasons that we've covered this show. So I'm going to be deadly honest here. Um, this feels like if any of y'all remember like the Sex in the City 2 movie and about that last 15 to 20 minutes in it when you was just like, oh, they're just gonna give out happy feelings and really no story. That's the equivalent of what we got in this episode. As there's not a lot.
Yeah.
We'll try to talk about some of the subject because there's some really good subjects to talk about, but boy, did they close out some characters with little to nothing. Um, Speaking of one of the characters that close out with little to nothing, because that's what we're gonna start with here. Charlotte and Harry. All we got from the closeout of Charlotte and Harry was that Harry got a hard on. And we've been waiting. Well, she's been waiting because I have not yet.
Hey,
She's been
listen.
waiting for Harry to get a hard on this
She
entire
was
time. And it
basing
happens
that
on
turkey.
Thanksgiving Day. Something to be thankful for. It happens on Thanksgiving Day. And he gets this hard on. So, because I try my best to come up with very interesting questions surrounding by some of these storylines. So I'm going to ask an odd question. Have you ever been surprised by an intimate moment during a time where you didn't expect it completely and to be receptive by everyone, meaning understanding by everyone? Like whether it be like, at times you'll have a situation where your love comes home and everyone knows like, okay, something's gonna happen because they surprised them and things of that nature. Or do you think that it's a possibility where maybe this was a tad bit inappropriate to do around your daughter?
I guess it's the season finale, so things don't want to work. But yeah, I mean, well, you know what? Here's the thing. Charlotte and Harry have been really transparent, and I don't think that they
Mhm.
shy away from certain topics with their kids. I think that's what allows the kids to come to them and have those conversations that we would deem like uncomfortable. Um,
Mhm.
but in this moment, I thought it was cool. I mean, listen, like I said, Charlotte was basting that turkey, and he was like, "Mama's got brand new moves, and that turkey is looking real ready to go." So hey, here I am. Okay. But yeah, it's nothing that I saw that was, for me, this is right on par for Harry and Charlotte. And I love that for them because I think that it shows the patience and like, hey, yeah, this is a happy ending. This is the happy ending that I'm actually happy with. Double
Because
entendre.
in the end, especially with these two characters, we've seen everything they've gone through, and the marriage is still together. And
Hmm.
we'll talk more about that wedding bridal action show scene. I'm assuming that's what that was because that was important, but that's more of it falls in line with way more what's going on with Seema and Adam, but it'll be talked about with also Charlotte in that situation. But here it's just it's a happy moment. I don't know if it just felt a little like, oh, I'm not burning my Thanksgiving turkey for sex. That's just not happening. I spent
That's
way too much
because
time.
you are a chef. That's why you're
Yeah,
not
I
burning your
spend
turkey
way
for
too
sex.
much time
Yes.
on my
I know
Thanksgiving
that
turkey
for
to
sure.
burn it for
He's not
sex.
listen, there's nothing that's gonna take Lucas away from cooking. And so I don't care if you got your heels on and your wife beater with your gray sweats and you about to
You
take the
have to
trash
wait.
out. It's not gonna work.
I like, look here, babe. I got 4.5 more hours on this turkey. Once
Mm-mm.
this turkey is
But
done, we
I
can do what
mean,
we need to do.
you got 4
But
hours though. You could just go and have sex and come right back. It ain't gonna take that
turkey
long. The
must be
turkey is not
basted
gonna.
every the turkey must be basted
Oh
every
my
30
god.
minutes. And I time it every 30 minutes to baste it. Now, unless you just want to go, we could go stop, go stop, go stop, go. But I don't really like that. But here between Harry and Charlotte is at least understandable because again, this is something he's been feeling inadequate about.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been super supportive. So when he just comes in and says, I'm ready, like and I love her reaction is, but how? Like, why? Why now?
Because men get
He's like,
hard for the weirdest things. That is why. You could blow on them and boom, just like this, penis hard. Meanwhile, I'm over here asking for a play by play. You feel me? Like I'm asking for the appetizer, the drink. Hello, can you warm me up? You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't go in there and try to just start the car. Help me out here, okay? I wish that you could blow on me and I would just magically be ready to go. That's just it's not
well,
how it works.
well, unfortunately, women still have the car in the 80s. When you have men it's push start.
Okay, you know what? You
Completely
know
started
what?
up.
I'm not doing this shit with you today. I'm not. That was a really good analogy, though. Like you, okay?
It's a very good analogy there. I am
It
telling
is.
you,
It
most men
is.
are pushed to start. We can't even help it at this point. And it's,
No.
but again, that's why I love this scene because we just see the confusion in Charlotte's face. Of like, wait a minute, like this, why now? Why today? But again, it's always a good thing that in the end they decided to stay at home and this happened because if this would happen in Miranda's house, ooh, there's no telling what would have happened, especially with little Epcot doing what little Epcot was doing. But next up, we're going to talk about, and this one was more the deeper storylines in this episode, and that's Adam and Seema. As first, we start off with Seema getting ready for her day. Adam saying, "You shower without me," and she lets him know, like, my business is now thriving again. I got to meet the girls for this bridal fashion show. And he says, weddings are silly. And this ends up spiraling to a conversation later on at the bridal fashion show Seema has with Carrie about Adam just poo-pooing everything that has to do with being married because he has no model of it because his mom wasn't married. And then it breaks down to the conversation of, do I need to be married? Down to Seema asking Carrie, why did she get married? And Carrie's answer was, because I was chosen. Oh my God. And then Seema says, has wondered, is that what she's waiting for? So, first part we're going to discuss is Adam and his views on marriage and how that could be a conversation that they never had as they pursue this relationship with one another.
The thing is that sometimes you get so engulfed, right? You forget to have these conversations. And Seema is in later age, so she's having this conversation differently, right? But I feel like, damn, y'all never talked about this. As
Mhm.
soon as she mentioned it and his reaction, I said, "Oh, here you go, here you go. Here's the thing," and but again, seeing the growth, right? Her just how she reacts, and she's not really like she's not really she's flustered, but she's not flustered, right? She's just
Yeah.
thinking it through. I just wished that they would have talked about it because that could have been a conversation and a really good think piece for people who watch the series.
Mhm.
And I think that kind of just left me with the damn, like I would have loved to see what that conversation looked like because people out here would have probably liked to hear it. Because there are some people who don't know they don't know what it looks like, right? We have those who know what it looks like when it's good. We have those who know what it looks like when it's bad. We have those who never experienced it because their parents never got married, and then we have those who just are infatuated with the idea of it. So I think for me it would have been like a really good opportunity to be like, oh, let's
Mhm.
have this storyline play out, let's give these people a little bit more conversation. So I wasn't happy about it, but glad that it sparked another conversation that she had with Carrie, and then that Lisa and Charlotte had at the
Charlotte part of it, yeah.
bridal shower.
It was a missed opportunity to have them have that conversation. And it didn't have to be in that moment. Like later on, we see them together again, and this conversation, it feels like still doesn't take place. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that would have been a very interesting conversation to have. Instead, we do get the conversation at the bridal, the oh my god, bridal fashion show. And then we get the conversation between kind of Carrie and Adam in the garden. Like all of that blends over, but we never get to see Adam and Seema have the
Mm-hmm.
conversation. But we do see her work through some of her thoughts about marriage, and this jumps into the conversation with her and Carrie here. I'm just going to ask you a simple question because the moment I cringed the moment I heard it, and I want to make sure I'm not the only person that felt that way. When Seema is questioning, is this something that she always pictured as a little girl? And
Mm-hmm.
is it something that is it something she still wants, or is this just something that she feels she has to do? And she asks Carrie, "Well, you got married. Why did you get married?" And Carrie said, "Because I was chosen." What are your thoughts on Carrie telling her, "I got married because I was chosen"?
Just take me off camera, okay? I could have just dropped because I hated it. I hated it so bad because especially for women in their age group, and especially for the fact that Carrie got married so late in age. You are a well known 7-time New York Times bestseller. You have money to buy and sell a house 10 times over. You are well established. You have, I'm so confused. And this is what it looks like when there are those conversations about how marriage is, people don't really know how to invest into the marriage, right? Like how it just looks good, the infatuation of it all. And it was like, first of all, as somebody who got married later, I won't even say later because I hate that society makes you feel like you have to get married at a certain age, first of all. Right. So, but just as somebody who got married and was able to learn themselves, was able to fall in love with themselves and to like know that I am whole without a person, it was really sad because then it quite frankly, it proved me right. All of Carrie's previous conversations, when I say it, she just feels like she's not confident. She feels like she doesn't know herself. She feels
Mhm.
like she's even just that little bit of like I can't for fast forward, but I just because she says like after the devastating loss of Big, and I thought maybe Aiden, you thought the past. Like your literal thought was the past is like, what are we doing here? So I was saddened because as somebody who she's talking to Seema, who's never been married, who's really in love with Adam, who's having this really, this moment. That's the reason why you got married? Like, and you know what? I knew something shitty was coming because she kept stuttering. Like she couldn't figure
Yeah.
out why she got married. And I was like, what is happening here?
Mhm.
What? No, I didn't like it.
The weird part is it makes sense for the character of Carrie. Carrie's never been single, really. Throughout the stretch of Sex in the City and Just Like That, it's never a huge single moment with Carrie. And because of that, that's what can lead her. Because at this whole time, we also remember she was pining for Big at one point in time. She wanted Big to commit. So for her to say, I was chosen, I don't necessarily know if she was saying I was chosen as a positive or a negative to Simba here. I think it's more of an acknowledgement that's the reason I got married. The odd part was it wasn't because I was in love. That's the weird thing here. But then it makes you
Yeah.
wonder if Carrie ever thought or ever was the woman who needed to be married. And
That
maybe
part.
that's why it comes across as I was chosen. So I don't necessarily know if that was a positive or a negative thing, but I'm gonna let part of our audience into the realm of us because we have a diverse audience here. So
Yes,
some
we
of you
do.
all may not understand this. When I heard Carrie say I was chosen, immediately the first thing that came to mind was Jagged Edge. And most black people would tell you in a heartbeat. Jagged Edge made a song called "Let's Get Married." To
Hello.
this day, some people play that at their weddings. That is
And
the
that's why it was not played at mine.
worst.
Banned.
That's possibly the worst wedding song ever created because it literally is what Carrie is saying here. We ain't got nothing else to do. We might as well just do it. Like it
Might
literally
as
says it in
well.
the lyrics of the song. Of basically, I ain't got nothing else to do. You here, we here. We just might as well just do this and get this over with.
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I will
it, it's it's
definitely.
it's no romance involved in that song, and I think that's what I thought of with Carrie's response here. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and I won't say it's a bad thing. It's a cringeworthy thing to say, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing for someone to do it. It has its own consequences and own challenges if that's the path you go down of
Right.
just wanting to be chosen. Because for a lot of people in this world,
That's
they
what it is.
just want to be chosen. That's
Agreed.
it. Whether you like it or not, whether you think that person's weak or not, that's really not for you to say. That's for that person to figure it out. And it's a lot of successful marriages in the world where they were all just together because someone chose one of the other partner. So I'm
Right.
not going to say it's good or bad, but it's just a very cringeworthy thing to hear her say. And it really, in the end, did not help Seema out at all because it didn't help with her same dilemma of her wondering, well, is Adam enough? And I think that's the most important part is after that that conversation and Carrie says, did you think Adam chose you? Or do you choose Adam? And Seema's like, I care and I love him. I don't know if that's what I perceive this to be. And I think that was the best part of their conversation is that in the end, Seema is still grappling with the facts of if I love him, do I need to be married to him? Or how does this picture look in my life? And I thought that was very interesting. And then we jumped into Lisa and Charlotte as they're having a completely separate conversation about marriage. And as someone who's newly married who has not experienced any of this yet, but what did you think about Lisa and Charlotte's conversation as they are talking about the ups and downs of marriage? But in the end, when asked, both of them said the exact same thing as knowing everything you know now, would you do it again? And both said yes.
I think that that's what the part of marriage that I was looking forward to hearing. You know what I mean? Because it's we all know this, like people, just relationships in general, friendships, your relationship with your mom, your siblings. You know what I mean? All those things they have their ups and downs. No relationship is without the down. You have to take the good with the bad, and
Yeah.
so as we knew Charlotte was gonna say yes for sure, right? Because but there's also there's this thing about Charlotte that's very she's made for marriage, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
If the two were the complete opposites, it's Carrie on one end and it's Charlotte on the other, and then Seema, Lisa in between. But the way Charlotte, the patience, the compromise, the nurturing, the consideration, like those things that she possesses are something to be admired because she still holds her own. She's never been like a pushover either. So, you know, you get to see like that healthy boundary. So I love seeing them, especially Lisa, with what's currently happening in their marriage, you know, for her to say, knowing what I know, yeah, me too. You know what I mean? And so I really love that moment because it shows two different marriages, two different places, and the willingness to continue even when things are rough. So, you know me, I loved it.
It's a really solid scene. Just to show the parallels between the two. Like both groups are having the same conversation about marriage, and it's just coming from different perspectives. And I love the way it's pointed that no perspective is wrong. You don't hear or see it pointed out that any perspective is wrong. Whether it be Carrie saying I was chosen and that's why I got married, that's why I cared for the person I was with. Seema questioning, well, is that what I want, or is marriage at all what I need? Or maybe the companionship, the being with someone could be enough, and I don't need the actual marriage to do so. Versus Lisa and Charlotte just talking about the ups and downs of marriage. Charlotte talking about, hey, Harry, we don't have sex because everything that's going on with Harry. Lisa's like, Herbert's been in a funk. He's not done anything, and I just want to be with him. And all it just shows you the different sides of what marriage can be, and it
Yeah.
shows that marriage is not just one size fits all. Like
Yeah.
you can't judge other people's marriage because you're not in their marriage.
That
So
part.
like that's the best message for people. You can't judge other people's marriages or relationships because you're not in it.
Yeah.
What works for you possibly won't work for them.
I agree. And I think that that's something that we should probably be more mindful of is like, as much as we want to help our friends or, sometimes we just don't see it the way that they see it. So we can't navigate it the same way. But I do think that those moments where Lisa and Charlotte are sharing and just really coming to the conclusion that yes, I would still choose my person. I would still choose Herbert. I would still choose
Yeah.
Harry. That's the part that matters, right? Like the I
Yeah.
would still choose you because that is a constant thing. Like every single day, even before I got married, like every single day, once we got into an inclusive relationship, I was still choosing, right? All these things are choices, like active choices to say, like, I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to not
Yeah.
shut down and clam up when I get upset.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm not going to be so disconnected when I get irritated. All those things take work. It's a constant, like, all right, I have to acknowledge, hey, this is how I felt today, XYZ. So I love seeing that, like you said,
Yeah.
all the different sides of it, because really and truly, that's exactly what it was. Carrie, Seema, Lisa, Charlotte. There are literally levels, you know what I mean?
Yep. Mhm.
Miranda too.
Yeah. Next up, talk about Lisa and Herbert. As we start off with Marion and Lisa as they're editing the documentary, and the people behind the doc, which Lisa told them from the beginning, Michelle Obama was too big for this documentary as it was supposed to be unknown women of color in
Hmm.
this. They finally agreed, but then it turns around that they're still going to present the doc to Michelle, and she may end up narrating the doc for Lisa, which excites her. And Marion, who then invites Lisa out, say, hey, we should grab some dinner or something. But we see Lisa's immediately uncomfortable with everything about it. He says, well, how about a drink? She's uncomfortable with that. And this is where she kind of lays it down of stating, like, you know what? We can't do any of that. We just need to work together here. And that's it, because anything else would be too personal, too wrong. And we get Marion saying, well, I'm an editor. I would never take it there at all to ruin what we have. We understood from the beginning that Lisa has been struggling with this situation with her and Marion because she's attracted to him. This,
Hmm.
what did you think about this conversation here after they get this news?
Well, I love the boundary that Lisa set, right? Because um I think that we don't realize we have choices in the matter, or we do, but we just don't feel comfortable and confident enough to express those choices in situations that make us uncomfortable. And so I think that for me, knowing yourself, as soon as that uncomfortability shows up and being like, nah, I can't do that. Like, it's a no for me. And Marion immediately respecting that, right? And also confirm like, hey, like I want this project so bad and I want this project to succeed so bad. I'm not willing to do anything to risk it. So I thought that that was actually really dope because they could have wrote it differently, but I like how they wrote it. And I'm glad that they kept the integrity within both of these two people who are both married. Because it's not just about Lisa, it's also about marrying too. We might not see his wife on camera, but we know that he's married. And so we want to respect both relationships.
It's a conversation for just the ladies. Um, The fear that you all have about telling the truth about your feelings is odd at times because this was all Lisa's thoughts from the beginning, but she never shared it with them. At times, you have to be open and honest with people and allow them to react to what's going on with you. Lisa was a little worried. I believe she was a little worried because she didn't want to have him leave the project if she let her true feelings be known. But once you don't let your true feelings be known, these are the uncomfortable things that can happen because that person will be like, hey, it's a business relationship. Maybe we can't go out for a drink. Maybe we can't go out for dinner. If you don't set those boundaries from the beginning, like this is just work, we're not doing any of that. If you leave that door open, I think that's when it gets uncomfortable. And for a lot of women, especially in the workplace, I think that's when the conversation becomes hard to have. And it's
I,
because in the end, a lot of women don't trust themselves. You know exactly what you want, but you got to put that trust behind yourself to say, you know what, I'm going to do this. Like, hey, I just want to work. I don't want to do nothing else. Don't worry about making people or you believing you're going to make people uncomfortable by you setting a boundary.
I think
And I
that is
think
just
men don't go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I think that the difference is that men have no issue doing that. A man will set a boundary in a heartbeat if necessary. But I think women, because of the way society has told women that you're too, you come across too harsh when you do certain things, and none of that is true. Setting a boundary is never too harsh. Setting a boundary is should be for safety more than anything else, whether it be safety in a relationship, safety in the way you operate in business. Like all of that should be highly important. But I do think that we make the mistake of not preaching that enough to younger women in business
Mhm.
that these are things you need to do. And when those younger women become older, I think they do struggle a little more setting boundaries that can easily be set or easily is told to men at the beginning of business careers that are not told to women at the beginning of business careers.
I think that the reason why that conversation is completely different is because, and this is like somewhat varying, but women are often we're either sexualized or emotionalized. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure I just made that word up, but right. So it's like, oh, you're more sensitive than, or you're too sensitive,
Yep.
or
Mhm.
your emotions run rampant, right? Or like, well, you could just do a little bit of this and get somebody's
Yeah.
attention. You don't have to do anything, but it's just getting your foot in the door. Like, there's so many different aspects of setting the boundary. I remember having this conversation with my husband, and we were probably engaged, and I told him off rip, and this may or may not be relevant, but I said there may be a guy who hits on me and I might be uncomfortable, so I might give him my number and block him after the fact, because there are too many times where women have said no and things have happened. You see what I'm saying? So the boundaries have to be set. They should absolutely be set, but like you said, we're not learning those things at a younger age. So if we're not learning it, and here's the thing, learning to set boundaries with people in your family first allows you to set boundaries with people outside of your family, right? And so even back to like Seema's point when she goes, we're groomed for it. Women are groomed for marriage. I have this conversation all the time. We've had it, right? If men were groomed the same way women were, people would get married more often. It wouldn't feel like a ball and a chain. It would be something that people look forward to, not just the wedding, but the actual marriage. And so I think that we have to be mindful that women navigate the world so much differently when it comes to like business and just the interactions with men, because some men, and again back to the conversations we've had, don't think that you can have friendships with women, just be friends, or vice versa. You know what I mean? So there's so many different things. If we learned, all of us, if we just learned as community to set those boundaries early on, the conversations and things like this, like you said, wouldn't be so hard. And we'd be able to say, like, hey, I want to make sure that we keep this as professional as possible. So, I don't want to do anything outside of that realm. So maybe a happy hour with a bunch, within the company space or whatever the case is, at least, like you said, making it known.
Yeah, that I think that's the most. I love the point you put about the grooming at a young age. Yes, That's why little girls are given Barbies and easy bake ovens, and little boys are given army men. You're perpetuating the stereotype
Yep.
from little boys to little girls about how the world not only will perceive you, but how you should perceive yourself. And breaking that mold, especially to me, is important, especially with the newer generation as they get into the business world of this to stop those norms that we had growing up in it. Of saying, like, well, as a woman, it should be okay. You can somebody hits on you, that's fine. Just brush it off. Absolutely not.
Right.
That's not okay.
Right.
And vice versa for men. They're saying, like, no, if you just hit on your secretary a little bit, that's cool. No, it's not.
It's
But these
not.
these are norms that need to be broken. So I mean, the conversation was hard between them, and you could tell Lisa was uncomfortable. But it's always good to see someone set a boundary. Like, no, we can't do any of that.
Yeah.
We need to keep it here, and it needs to stay here. And then again, for Marion to just respect that boundary is highly important. Next up, we get Lisa and Herbert as Lisa just arrives home after the wedding fashion show, which I never knew they did bridal fashion
Oh,
shows.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's a whole thing. You get to see the new collection that your favorite designer has out. They do them all the time, which is again back to why little girls get infatuated with the white dress. And you know what I mean? And here's the thing, what's so funny is like I wanted to I wanted to elope and like not elope for real, but I wanted to do like a micro wedding or I really actually I did want to go to
Mhm.
the courthouse. And as soon as my now husband was like, "We're having a wedding, like, we're just gonna go ahead and have the wedding," and I was like, "Okay." Almost instinctually, right? I got into like maybe like 2, 3 months in, and it started to click, like, I'm having a wedding. Like, everything started coming to my mind, all the pins that I saved on Pinterest, the dresses that I had liked, and
Yeah.
all these things, they literally start coming back, they're, like, flooding you, and it's because of things like this, so yeah, I would actually go to one just to see, what it's like. But same as they have fashion shows to find out the new collection, yeah, absolutely.
See,
Bridal fashion
people like
shows.
me can't go to these type of things at
Anybody
all.
is welcome, I'm
I'm not
sure.
gonna lie. I'm a control freak. So
See?
when the wedding happens, if you take me to this show, then I'm just gonna pick your dress for you. This is what
Oh,
you're gonna
see,
wear.
that's why you're not going. That's not
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
That's why you're not going. Don't worry. I
Yes,
will
this
protect
is what you're gonna
whomever it
wear.
is you're
I
getting
like
married
this.
to.
It's bad enough that I already said it would be my day.
It's
I ain't got nothing to do with nothing else.
I
My day.
absolutely believe that. 110%. Because where is Lucas? Okay, I'm gonna be out
Yeah,
here like
yeah.
time is money. Okay, I don't know what he think this is. We got an 8-hour slot, sir. Let's get the getting.
Well, yeah, no, we're gonna have a 12-hour slot for the wedding because we
Oh,
got it's gonna
Jesus.
be an event. You just get prepared, be prepared.
Oh, I'm
Be prepared.
excited already. You ain't said nothing but a word.
But next up, just a conversation here between Lisa and Herbert. As Herbert says, as Lisa reaffirms her love for him as a way of really letting him know that I'm there for you. And for him just to reassure her and say, I'm going to get over this. And then for her to respond with, we're going to get over this. And later on, we see them right after Thanksgiving dinner. Lisa has done everything humanly possible for the family. And then Herbert just says, no, you go rest and relax. I'll take care of everything else. And
Mhm.
we see just the place they are now. Just what do you think about this ending that we get with Lisa and Herbert?
I mean, I love that. I wish that the fake renewal of the vows was just a little bit longer. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you could just give me
Yeah.
a little three piece. You know what I'm saying? A little, I forgot what they call it in poetry, but I was like, dang, just give me a little bit more. But I love that, and I think that it's so funny because as they were talking, right, they were saying like, do we ever get a moment? Remember her and Charlotte? They were talking about
Yep.
like it's always about them, and all while it's not always about them, right? I understand the sentiment in terms of like one, it's a lot to put your ego in check. It's a lot to put your pride to the side. It's a lot to do, and as a woman to also like bear your emotions so you don't come off too emotional or, over the top and things of that nature. And so I love the aspect of kind of like the humbleness Lisa experiences, because mind you, she could have came back sideways considering how we last left the conversation. But
Yeah.
when you're truly about the team, what is it that they say? Oh, I don't want to be right. I want to be together, right? And this is that
Mhm.
moment. And so seeing them have that moment and her reaffirming him like we're in this together, and him like in this scene you can see he's more receptive. He's had a moment, right? And he's also caught off guard with what she's with the gesture of the saying the vow to him again to remind him like I did say till death do us part. um I loved it. And I love that in the end, he also acknowledges her to say, like, hey, like you said, like, I got it. You've done enough. Like, let me take care of this. Like, it's those things that really, I'm pretty sure 10 years down the line of marriage, I'm going to be like, man, I understand this shit so much more now.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, I don't know who said it. I can't remember who said it, but maybe you, which is odd. Because I think I'm remembering something you said of every 5 years you're getting married to a new person. Everything changes in that person. And you have to go and make that adjustment. And that goes with ebbs and flows, the emotions and everything else involved. So that's what made this scene so sweet, because this is a hard thing for him to have to deal with. As we brought up last episode, it's a chance he was coddled his entire life. It's never lost in anything. So this is a new Herbert that she's not experienced before. But in the end, she still understood, like, no matter what, he was extremely rude, as we brought up last episode to her. And she's still like, you know what? No, I'm still here. Like, we're still going to be together. And we're just going to have to get through this. And even when he says, I'm going to get over this, and for her to interject, no, we're going to get over this. Like, this is, you're never alone and you're never just by yourself. And I think that's the reassurance for someone like Herbert. That reassurance is needed for him to be able to move on. I think that was the most important part of this. Again, down to her, I'm not cleaning no kitchen. I'm letting you know that now. Under no circumstance. No circumstance. We are too
Yeah.
rich for me to clean the kitchen.
You cooked, so I know you're not cleaning, but
Ooh,
listen, in a new life, I ain't cleaning either.
I can't do it.
Shoot.
Yeah, except here. If we are living like they living, you consoling them.
I knew you was gonna say conservative. I knew you was gonna do it, Jesus. The opinions of Lucas and Aisha do not reflect the
Oh, I
truth.
am. Here, look here. Look here. I'm not getting in the way of somebody who does a better job at something that I can't do.
Hello.
Understand. Understand.
That part.
Whatever the name is, whatever name you want to use, when she comes in there, she gonna clean it down. I can't do that. I just not, it's not part of my ministry. But she will be able to do it. Next up, we get Miranda, and here we're just gonna add everything in Thanksgiving and everything with her and Joy here. As first we get everyone canceling on Miranda. Well, no, let's start off first with a conversation between Miranda and Steve. As they're in a diner having dinner, and they meet to discuss everything that's going on with Brady. And Miranda brings up that Brady's now not talking to her, besides wanting things like oat milk and things of this nature. And Steve's like, I'm going to apologize to Brady because I shouldn't have blown up. And in the midst of Miranda asking him, well, what are you going to say? And he says, I'm going to say, I'm sorry for you effing up your life. And him going off all over again. And they just talk about here the conversation about how they raised him, and they're surprised that he ended up in this situation. What did you just think about this conversation between Miranda and Steve about Brady and his whole situation?
I think that, it's interesting because you expect that. You expect the way that Steve, reacts in this moment, but he's still calm. He's a lot calmer than he was the first time around. And but disappointment does not fade. So I'm not surprised at all. But I think it's a real thing, right? That whole having a grandkid before you're ready to be a grandparent. So many people have experienced that. And I think that it just makes things very realistic and relatable. And I think that that was cool. I think that overall, the whole Thanksgiving dinner was just child. That was a mess. It needed to be recorded and put on YouTube somewhere, on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, something. But I think that even at the moment, you know, the got sick all of a sudden. I think that it shows the insecurities of just people, right? Human beings, where you really, really like somebody, you're hoping that they show up for you, and then something comes in and throws a wrench in the plan, but you're so bent on the fact that it's not true because the person is ditching you, they're abandoning you, that you make this up in your mind. And I love Carrie for this moment where she's like, just, or you can just call her, right? You can just call her and find out what's happening. Again, back to like you said, us setting those boundaries and having those conversations earlier. We just have to have the conversation and stop assuming, right? We all heard that phrase, if you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. And so I think it's just good for overall, I think just the conversations leading to transparency, vulnerability, honesty, and really just being present in those emotions that we're afraid to show the most. And that's what kind of like showed up here for Miranda for sure, as we see her like break down at the, not break down, but you know, crying just a little bit, that Joy showed up for her the way she showed up for Joy. And that's really what it is though. That's really the biggest part, is us wanting people to show up for us, especially if we choose to show up for them.
Miranda's whole thing, or her whole storyline this episode was about having the tough conversation and putting off that tough conversation, whether it was the conversation between her and Steve and them still not having a tough conversation with Brady about what does this look like with a grandchild actually coming into the world and you trying to be so isolated and separated from it. Like, is that going to be a thing that could possibly happen? Then we get a situation that happens with Joy and her dogs, and immediately Miranda thinks she's lying, and then it takes Curry to say, "Well, you just call and find out the truth of it all." And then she finds out the truth, goes to spend time with Joy, but only for Joy in a very emotional moment to have an outburst, and Miranda takes that extremely personal about that one outburst that Joy has. But then again, it was another conversation that needed to be had. And it happens as Joy just happens to show up at the end for her. Like that's what it's all about with Miranda, is having these tough conversations down to her Thanksgiving guests. I invited the baby mama. Who the hell are these other two people who randomly show up? Also, like Epcot. If you are named Epcot, you're not allowed to come to my house under no circumstance, because I'm going to make fun of you every opportunity I get. I'm going to make fun of you if your name is Epcot.
Oh my gosh, I cannot.
Or if I leave to tend to a friend in need and I come back and you're ballroom dancing and death dropping in my home, we are going to have a different form of conversation. Of this ain't that ain't the time. It's just not the time. Okay.
I
It
thought
is
you
a
could death
very
drop anywhere.
You know what? You can, just not during Thanksgiving. That's it. Just not during Thanksgiving dinner. Any other time, I'm all for it. Not during Thanksgiving dinner.
Lord have
And then down
mercy.
to Brady and the baby mama, as she comes in the door, I can only have X, Y, and Z. And then says, it's your fault for not asking me. Okay. Again, it's about the uncomfortableness of this entire Thanksgiving dinner, not to mention Mark and Carrie, as Mark was somebody who Charlotte invited to set Carrie up with, and we'll get that as we talk about Carrie's storyline, because Charlotte's a fool by just saying, but he has a plane. If that's all it took. If that's what
Hello, that's enough for me, baby. You
I
listening?
must
I
say,
feel
yeah,
like my
that's
husband
all it
finna be
takes.
watching this, so I need him to know I too want a plane.
Yeah, I was about to say like that's all it takes is to have a plane, but yes, that actually is all it takes. Because if you have a plane, I'm just assuming you have money to fuel and keep playing. And at that point, I can be a stay-at-home dad. I ain't got to do nothing else. I can cook, I can clean. Shit, I'll wear the heels and the sweatpants if need be. I'll do whatever I need to do in that situation.
Lord, fuel the plane. I'm on my way. I got the baby in tote, okay?
But what do you just think about this happy ending that we get Miranda at the end, even though she is down scrubbing the floors, which, oh my, never, under no circumstances. Consuela, I need you again because
First of
ain't no
all,
way.
Epcot would not have been able to leave because, or I would have called them back because, absolutely not. Like, get no. But I love the moment. I love that Miranda and Joy, um, show up for each other in this way because we weren't sure
Yeah,
they were going to be able to, hold each other's baggage, and it seems like they will. So I'm happy for that.
looks like a positive ending for Miranda from everything she's been with from the start of this series to the close of and Sex in the City. We seen how she struggled to find her person, and it finally seems like she's found her person. Someone who's willing to put their stuff aside because they still love and want to be with her. And I think finally we have Carrie and all of her drama. First, and this is at the beginning of the episode, and I have to ask this question. Have you ever been in a restaurant where you were eating by yourself and they brought you a companion doll to sit next to you?
You know what? You're not gonna do this, cause what? I was looking at this damn restaurant like, what? You got electric, robotic, automated waiters and waitresses, and then you got I thought the dog was finna talk. I mean, at least can
Yes,
it
that's what I
ask
thought.
me questions? Like, what's the point? I do not want to sit here with a stuffed doll who can't even talk to me. Like, bring me Chucky. I mean, come on, make it spicy. You know what I mean? I want to be your friend forever. That's cool with me. I'll take that.
I think this is a sign of this is a generational thing. So whether you're in I don't know, are they? I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody and say that the Sex and the City girls are baby boomers. For some odd reason, that seems off, and I'm not 100% sure
I
because
can't
they may
remember. Let
be
me Google
Generation
it.
X. They may be Generation X because Generation X should be in the 50s. Yes, they are Generation X. Woo, woo, because baby boomers are like 70, like 80s is baby boomers. So yeah, they got to be Generation X because we're millennials and we're in our 40s. So Generation X would be in their 50s to 60s.
Why you telling
So
everybody our business? That's crazy.
hey, I'm just letting everybody know because
Mm.
well, it's highly important because it fits with my theme of restaurants like this and them having those companion dolls are way more for like a generation uh Z. Is that the next generation after us?
Yeah, Gen
Gen
Z,
Z. Yeah,
and then
Gen
Gen A.
Z. Yeah, I think that following generation after millennials or maybe some later millennials, they have issues being alone and feeling alone. And I think that for them, that type of restaurant would make sense. But it's about reading the room. If you have an older person there, I'm pretty sure they prefer to be alone. Like the our generation and Generation X, we thrived on being alone. That was some of the best times in the world were
Yeah,
you
we
being
fine.
by yourself. But in the later generations, they have issues eating alone and going to movies alone. Like this is stuff they struggle with because they're always looking for a connection. So when she put the doll down there, one, I was confused because just like you, I thought the doll was going to start speaking. I thought the dog was going to take her. I thought the doll was going to take her order. Like I said, oh, okay, great. This is awesome. So you're gonna sit this here and it's gonna get my order? Awesome. And it's gonna like shoot food out at me. Like I'm expecting all this futuristic stuff here. Like I was in the Jetsons. I did not just expect the doll just to be there because I don't want to eat alone. Like, are you crazy? Do you know how much fun I have by myself? Like, no, I don't
Listen.
want to. And it's socially, it's embarrassing. And again,
Yeah.
the younger generation, they still have stuffed animals in their 20s and 30s. They are comfortable with this. Absolutely not. Don't put no doll next to me. I don't need it. And I think that's what Carrie, as she tells the girls later on, like, I went to this restaurant and even they believe older women can't be alone by themselves. Just like, again, is relating back to her book editor saying the exact same thing when she says, you need to come up with a better ending for your book. And she equates it to what this restaurant thinks. And that's just their conversation as they go on to the wedding extravaganza ball thingy that I'm never going to get right. But after that, we get Carrie as she just has a conversation with Charlotte about saying, I think I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. And this is Carrie bringing up that she's never really been alone. As she states, whether it was Big after Big passed away, I thought then it would be Aiden, and that's not working. And her understanding, like, do I have to get prepared for another man or get prepared for me? What did you think about that conversation that Carrie had with Charlotte?
I mean, I thought it was a real conversation. It was an honest conversation. It's one that she probably needs to have for herself that she hasn't had. But I
Yeah,
also think that, in acknowledging that here's the thing, you do acknowledge it, and because you need to face the possible reality. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So for me, it was just that it was her facing the reality that it might not be this, but it might be this, and I have to just prepare myself for what that looks like. And I
Mhm.
love that not only did she have the conversation, but then I think she took a moment, she she made her pit stops, which I love. It was first of all, Carrie was mad black for this episode, right? Because that one
Yes.
person that just be Thanksgiving hopping. And so she made her rounds, and then she decided to go on home, and she danced a little, danced her heart out. And so I think that this is the moment where I think, in terms of ending, she's falling in love with herself. She's getting to know herself on a different level, and that level of being alone. And like I had to learn in my early 30s, being alone does not mean being lonely. There are two different things. I think if people
Mhm.
understood that, it would be different in our community. And just
Yeah.
and by community, I mean just like people will understand that differently.
I think that was the most important message that this episode delivered. And it's part of Carrie's epilogue. She said the woman's not alone, the woman's just with herself. It's that understanding that you don't have to be lonely doesn't equate to being by yourself. And as you pointed out weeks ago, that you thought that could possibly be the issue with Carrie. And now we see it come to fruition that that's the exact issue. And for people who don't understand, they're not pointing to it being the exact issue with this show. They're pointing out being the exact issue with Carrie from Sex and the City and to through this show is that she's never been with herself. And if you're not by yourself or you're always waiting for the next man, as Curry pointed out, or the next partner in any general sense, because this is not a woman issue, men do the exact same thing. Like if you're always waiting for that next partner and you're never alone, when do you have time to learn you? And if you don't learn you, how can you ever give yourself to someone? You wouldn't know how to. And it leads to Carrie saying, I was chosen. Like that's
Yeah.
a it's a great correlation. And again, nothing is wrong with that. This also shows, and I hope it reaffirms the older generation that you don't have to be with somebody. Like enjoy you. Maybe you're enough. Like we're not in a generation where people feel the need to have children. You're not in a generation where people possibly feel the need to be married or be with a partner, and they just want to say, you know what, I'm just good being with me. And let me figure that out first, and then I can decide later on in life that if I want a partner and how would that look in my life instead of me adjusting everything to having a partner. I think you pointed out earlier. I think that's part of the issue with at times society telling you should get married in your 20s. Like that's an odd thing to say to people when I don't know me.
You don't know yourself.
else at that time period. But as you get older, I think it helps build stronger relationships, stronger bond. I'm perfectly clear that I always wanted children in my 40s for that reason. Like I needed to know me way before I introduced little people that could act like me, because they wouldn't survive if I was in my 20s. Now about 40s, it's a good chance
That
that
part.
it could be perfect timing in the end. And I think that's one thing. If this show had its flaws, what it definitely did. One thing that this show really preached of like was that life didn't end at a certain age.
Right. Yeah.
You should put that restraint on yourself, as we got to see all of these women, including Nyla, who mysteriously left after the second season.
Abruptly left. Yeah. They did not close out her story, and I think that that was unfortunate. They could have
Yeah,
at least done that.
yeah. But like again, all of these characters show that life doesn't end at 30. I think that was the whole point of this series. So, what are your final thoughts? And we're gonna say not this season, just the entire series of And Just Like That.
And just like that, this is the end. I feel like it shows you that no matter, and this is something I saw the other day, right? Age does not equal emotional maturity, right? The things that you think you would not deal with in your 50s, or that would happen to you in your 50s somehow happen. And also that, like, you can, I just saw this quote the other day, you can start over whenever. You can
Mhm.
literally start over whenever. And I just love that because, like you said, so many of us get stuck in that, like, oh, when we were growing up, we heard the white picket fence. You graduate high school, you go to college, you get the job, you get the spouse, you have the kids, you get the house, the white picket fence, and the two dogs. And life is not that. Life is what you make it, and like anything really is possible. You just have to be willing to shed the old to get to the new. And what do they say? Getting to the other side, or like wherever you need to get to, there's pain involved, right? There's pain in that process. A snake, people think that like my brother has a snake. My sister now has a snake. That is actually a lot more painful than people realize, the shedding of the skin. And
Yeah,
so I
yep,
think
yep,
that you have to remember constantly shed, like emotionally,
yeah.
mentally, to constantly shed and become somebody new, reinvent yourself, fall in love with yourself over and over and over and over and over again. And like you said, whether you choose to be married or you choose not to be married, or whatever the case may be, yourself is always first. You love yourself
Mhm.
enough to, set those boundaries, have those hard conversations, or uncomfortable conversations. And the only people that make it hard and uncomfortable is us. So there are a
Yes.
lot of
Mhm.
lessons that were had in this series, good, and bad, and indifferent, right? So yeah, I mean, and let's not forget the pie in the face, with Anthony and Giuseppe, very
Yeah, I just skipped a whole storyline because it was they didn't put any time
any effort.
into
They really
exploring
didn't. But
anything about that.
I've always wanted to pie somebody. So, I maybe might get two pies and let my husband pie me, and I can pie him, and it'll be like a thing.
I Love Lucy episode.
Yes, basically.
Yeah. Normally we would normally have said, so let us know what you think. Nope, unnecessary here. Let us know what you think about the series, not necessarily about this episode. And what are your final thoughts as we're going to finally say goodbye again to these characters? This is now two series, two movies that we've experienced with these characters that, if you go back to Sex and the City, they kind of ushered in a movement of female strength in sitcom television at the time. And then we go through movies and now we see them age. And it's the same thing where you get through the ages and see how you grow up. How do you grow older? How is life going to treat you when you get older? This is something that we've never experienced in television, of being with characters in their 30s to in their 50s and in their 60s, and getting to see how the world changes around them. So just for that, you're going to get credit for what And Just Like That brought. I know it wasn't as good, well written for a lot of people as Sex in the City. It didn't land the same way as Sex in the City, but you got to ask yourself one important question: is it because you were a certain age when you watched Sex in the City? If you're still thinking that you're Carrie in Sex in the City and you are now Carrie's age and Just Like That, that speaks way more about you than it does about the show. So again, maybe in time, this is something that, like the movies kind of did with a lot of people, give it time. Maybe 2 or 3 years, 4 years from now, go back and watch the show, and I think you possibly will get a different perspective. Granted, these are still very rich women, so at times it can be a disconnect, as we talked about in the very first episode. But from now on, check it out again in a couple of years and let us know what you think. This has been another Big Gold Belt television review series finale of And Just Like That. Peace, people.
Deuces.